Hi, everyone, and welcome to The Authority File, the award-nominated podcast where you'll hear conversations with academic librarians, technologists, researchers, and authors whose work is laying the foundation for higher education's future. I'm Bill Mickey, your host and the editorial director at Choice. So along with the posting of our 300th episode in December, we learned that The Authority File, along with its sister podcast Toward Inclusive Excellence, has been nominated in several categories for the 2023 Publisher Podcast Awards. We'll be keeping our fingers crossed until April, when they'll hopefully become award-winning podcasts. So now on to this episode. There are a lot of headline-making events out there today, and two that are perpetually sitting near the top of our list here at the Authority File are cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. Of course, in our niche part of the world, these two topics typically mean research theft and, non-human research. But of course, cybersecurity and AI touch almost every aspect of our lives. And don't even get me started on the Internet of Things. But for now, though, we're going to look at mobility, as in cars, trucks, aerospace, and all of the things that transport and move people and products. If you stop and think, it won't take you long to realize how important cybersecurity and AI have become in the mobility world. Joining me to talk about this are Adrian Guan and Tim Weisenberger, who are both product managers at SAE International. SAE is an association for engineers and other technical experts in the aerospace, automotive, and commercial vehicle industries, and like many other associations of its size, it provides standards development, publications, live events, and other resources to professionals, researchers, and academics in these fields. Adrian is SAE's expert on AI, and Tim is responsible for cybersecurity. In this 4-part series, we'll be looking at how AI and cybersecurity impact mobility, as well as the real-life academic applications of SAE's work. This series is brought to you with support from SAE International. In this final episode of the series, we discuss the real-life and academic applications of SAE's work, including how collaborating across areas of expertise can create new opportunities and what the intersection of AI and cybersecurity portends for the future. Okay, so AI and cybersecurity are both interdisciplinary in nature, spanning disparate industries. Collaborating across fields can create new opportunities, but what about the challenges of establishing industry standards or even just communicating across multiple subject areas? And Adrian, why don't we jump over to you for this one?
Your stuff spot on, Bill. It's very interesting for us to sort of keep track of new technologies and work with the new stakeholders and partners and connect the dots in different field of technology. Yet it's a challenge, and we do need to make sure that we engage all stakeholders, or hopefully engage as many as we can around the topic that we manage. In AI specifically, is such a cross-cutting topic, and we constantly need to promote the interaction between different committees within SAE and outside of SAE. For example, the AI committee that I manage on ground vehicle, we set up liaison activities with several SAE committees and also ISO committees, IEC committees, in order to know what they do in their standard activities. What they are doing are mostly we call it a horizontal standard, that is AI standards across different sectors, as what we are doing is sector-specific standards. And we need to constantly communicate in order to know where each other's status are, because the applications that we help to develop would help them to adopt their documents, and vice versa. We look up to them to produce some fundamental documents or standards for us to use in specific field. And on our community side, we also would like to reach all the stakeholders around mobility, and we organize open meetings, not only the committee meetings, also online meetings, in-person meetings. Hopefully that we can connect it to more stakeholders sort of outside the SAE circle.
It's a lot of meetings.
Yes.
Tim, is that a similar structure in the cyber area?
Yeah, I think I can maybe pull the thread on the example I was using with the public key infrastructure project. So one of the things I think is very, very important is we may not go create a standard or a best practice or whatever from whole cloth. And Adrian could maybe jump back in with an example in AI. We may start with, well, there's a more mature industry. There's a security industry that does a lot of standardization for cybersecurity. Let's start with that. Or let's get the best practices that we see for more mature industries. And I rattled some off, like the financial payment systems, banking, the internet, cable TV. That's there's one that I'm actually starting to now try and get my folks together with these folks. It's next generation 911. And they, as you might imagine, it's a disparate group of public sector and government sector partners that have to do that. And there's a group in Canada and there's a group in the US that are really doing an industry-wide, a sector-wide public key infrastructure project. I want to get those guys together and gals together with my guys and gals to say, okay, where are the pitfalls? What did we learn? Why did this take us 3 years to do this? How can you do it quicker? And then further, those standards that are from industry in the security side, and those are things like, X509 digital certificate standards, or what encryption algorithm to use. There's elliptic curve algorithms, blah, blah, blah. We don't really need to invent that. We just need to pull that in and use that for our use cases. And then further, I think the other thing we like to do, and I'm sure the AI is going to get here, is we have this bullpen now. We have 2 committees in cybersecurity with underlying task forces. We engage them. I remember I talked just briefly, I alluded to the fact that we did an OBD2 port security standard. Well, that was because some government committee, some House committee said we have to, quote unquote, harden the OBD2 port. They told NHTSA that. NHTSA came over to us. And the next thing we did is, get a workshop together with all of the people that do diagnostics on vehicles and our cybersecurity experts. And within a year, we had a standard. So the key is you want to have the actual expert doing the work. So experts are really smart people. They're very, very, they tend to think they can handle it. And so it's tricky to say, whoa, you stick to your knitting on your diagnostics or EV charging or what have you. Let's pull in security experts to actually help you with or write for you the security standard or best practice or what have you. So back to this PKI, public key infrastructure program that I'm just wrapping up. We went out, and the way it works is everybody comes together. They all chip in and ante up money, as well as maybe IP or technical gear for testing or what have you, whatever the statement of work requires. And then we go get a technical contractor to do all the work. And they are led by industry. And all I do, well, it's not all yet, but a lot of administrative project management work. In the end, we got a couple of companies from the security industry that were steeped in doing this next generation 911, cable TV, PKI throughout the industry, all of those things. So my hope is that we then can roll this out into our sector and get to the end game faster and not wait 3 to 5 years while we bloody our nose on all the problems that these other industries already solved for.
Excellent. Thank you.
Bill, may I add just one point that to me, I think that the way I try to sort of cultivate or facilitate the AI standardization is actually keep an open mind of what the end result really would be. It could be a standards, or it could be a standards for regulations, or it could be just some research reports, because we don't know. The technology is still evolving very fast in this field. And to me, just by working with the standards committees and also publications and other departments, I want to keep an open mind, and I hope SAE would keep an open mind as well just to promote all type of, useful information product being standards, or even in standard, there are some information reports, there are some, regulatory oriented, standards. There could be all type of information products coming out of this program. And I think that's what SAE as a whole probably would stand out, because we have all type of publications where information product can serve all different needs. I think that's in particularly very helpful for a topic like AI that we just don't know, what necessarily all those information really needs are.
I think that's a really great point, Adrian. And I
Yeah.
would say maybe just spin it back to, well, what could librarians and people that are in research like that, get out of this, as opposed to somebody who's actually crafting a product in a lab? I think that really just kind of went through the layers of the different levels that, if you're a researcher, you probably just want all the down and dirty information. It doesn't have to be a solution yet. It just has to be all the information you need, and you can start to source it and cite it and all of that. So that truly, I think, is where we feed into this crowdsourcing environment. But then when it gets more refined and targeted, we can use that. We can use higher level or more in-depth or targeted products or again, projects to really help industry solve a problem. So there's a lot of, milestone markers along the way, true informational products that are publications, peer-reviewed things, all of those things, discussion topics at conferences and other professional events, and then things like projects where we actually prove out somebody's idea, and with a bunch of different, industry members. So, and what we do is we protect that environment, that forum, from being a problem when it comes to things like antitrust or other, concerns of that cooperation.
Okay. And is that the point where you might pull in the research community to help with that proving out of a process, or is that more on the production side?
Well, it can be both. I think there's this sort of, I think of it as first spool, right? You're really it's unsettled. You're trying to do, and that's truly where academics dig in, right? But then when things mature up and the fruits of that labor start to crystallize, then we can bring back in and do. And again, these cooperative research projects they're unicorns. They could be testing. They could be, just a white paper. They could be, as we did, build out an actual platform that can be an industry solution. So we've done that for 30 odd years. This is, I think, by far the biggest project that we've ever done, $1.5 million worth. But again, and then that just puts us at the beginning.
Yeah.
We're not done. We're just at the beginning.
Yeah.
So I think you can bring in the research again to come in and start to do testing and targeted R&D.
Nice. So let's pull AI and cybersecurity together. We've been kind of addressing them as distinct units, but where are these two intersecting, and what does this mean for the near future, and how is SAE kind of addressing and staying ahead of the curve on this front?
Well, I can try and take a swag at this one, and I'm just kind of supposing here. Making a supposition, because we just had a really nice every January at our government industry meeting that we do in Washington, D.C. at the convention center. We kind of, as it says, we're trying to bring industry and government together to talk about things in a professional environment. Well, we did, and I think it was the 6th annual or 7th, and the only years we missed were during COVID. But we get together with NHTSA, National Highway Safety Traffic Safety Administration, to do a workshop on cybersecurity. It's about a half day, 3 hours. And this year, the panel that I moderated was around, public key infrastructure and encryption and these kind of, areas. And we had a researcher from NIST who has been involved in their research over the last few years about quantum computing and how quantum computing could break everything with respect to encryption. So their research is now moving to the next step where they're starting to say, okay, well, this encryption methodology in smart cards, triple DES, and I don't know, it doesn't matter what that is, but you need to sunset that, and you need to go to something more robust, because it will be easily broken by a quantum computing hack. And that's all the way up through these X509 certificates. So I guess my feeling there is, if it's that sort of plug and chug, that might be where AI and quantum computing can come together and very much enable hackers to just, wreak a lot of havoc. So that's one supposition I have of where that might come together.
Okay. Adrian, how about you?
Let me approach this question from two levels. One on technical level, the other is probably more concept level. On the technical level, AI can be applied to provide the security of cyber technologies by detecting misbehavior or some intrusion. And by monitoring and analyzing traffic on IT network, AI potentially can identify those malicious behaviors or devices or actors on the network. On the more sort of concept level, I would say that access and security are two sides of the same coin, sort of speaking. Information access give rise to information security. And AI potentially providing machines with access to the decision-making process or some sort of automation process. And therefore, the need for cybersecurity related to AI would only increase. So this is what I hope that we at SAE can cultivate through the collaboration with AI and cybersecurity to generate the synergy between these two related topics. And, whenever a new technology or solution come up, it's usually a collective effort, by different stakeholders with different mindsets, different backgrounds. And here at SAE, we are hoping to cultivate that with our membership base and serve them through our standards and publications, professional developments, and community engagement activities. And that's the way that we hope that we provide value to the stakeholders that we serve. And Bill, before we end, I just want to add one point really quick. I want to emphasize one point. I know that some of your audiences may be interested in social science.
Yeah.
And I think that AI is not just a technical topic. I touched on that a little bit on the sort of equity issue of using AI in pedestrian detection. Similar mindset can be sort of put around just how to use AI to assure the equity, for the users that it serves. Other than that, than pedestrian detection, think about automated driving. More data that collect in one neighborhood may very well improve the performance in terms of the safety of automated driving in that neighborhood. But what's the result if automated driving testing and verification are only done in certain type of neighborhood?
Right.
Then that will cause some disparity in the service of this mobility application in different environment. So I encourage us to think beyond just sort of technical issue of AI, more generally how AI would affect mobility or just public interest as a whole for those people who are interested in social science.
Yeah, excellent point. Thank you, Adrian. Well, that's all the time we have for Adrian and Tim. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure.
You just heard from Adrian Guan and Tim Weisenberger, who are both product managers at SAE International. Adrian is SAE's expert on AI, and Tim is responsible for cybersecurity. This 4-part series is brought to you with support from SAE International. As always, underwriting opportunities for the Authority File podcast are directed by Choice's advertising manager, Pam Marino, and all of our episodes are produced and edited by Choice's digital media producer, Sabrina Kofer, with support from digital media assistant, Ashley Roy. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.